practice has been and the spirit in the midst of a really tough time?
Practice has been spirited. Like I said, early on, this is a good group to come to work with. They practice hard. They're working with one another. The effort is always good. So they're a fun group to come to work with. They make, this rut or these moments easier to deal with because they do care about what we're doing. And they're, doing everything in their power to try to resolve, where we are right now. So, we don't, obviously there are no moral victories and people don't want to hear about that, but the guys are competing every day in practice. They're getting after it and trying to, make us a better team.
Have you identified any schematic issues or anything like that when you go back and watch the games, or the reasons for breakdowns?
I think it's been different reasons, which is, we shore up one area and it seems to find a leak in another area. Like last night, for example, you can't survive a team beating up your paint like New Orleans beat up our paint. You look at 90 of their 114 came from the paint or the free throw line, and you can't survive that. So, the defensive rebounding, at some point in time has reared its head. So there's a bunch of small areas and, working on it. You spend a lot of time focusing on one thing to try to improve that area, and then sometimes there's slippage in another area. But, so we're working to get ourselves whole again and get us back to the level we feel we can be.
You had, obviously, the last few weeks, you had Wayne and Marshawn who told they were traded, then they weren't. That was an awkward situation. You had Chandler publicly wanting to get back. That was an awkward situation. Does the resolution of those three players, such as it is, or what does that do? Does it help reset things, calm things down, or is it still an awkward situation to deal with now?
Again, there's always the human element, and there's the emotions that are involved in those things, in those situations. The resolution and them kind of being over and having to answer the questions, that one final time, gives people an opportunity to move on. And then once you move on, then you can start to rebuild whatever continuity that was there. It's true in team sports how important chemistry is. And when you do have, those types of distractions, it has an impact on the team. And until those things are resolved, it's hard to move forward through. There's no excuses being made, but that's the reality of the situation. So trying to move through that when, you care about your teammates, you care about the guys that are in the locker room with you. It does put extra pressure on people from an emotional standpoint that has a carryover to how guys, play.
You had to throw Justin Holiday sort of into the deep end without a practice. Got a practice today. What does that change for him in terms of his fit on the team?
For him, just trying to find a comfort level. It's trying to simplify as much as we possibly can, because he's not going to be able to get it all in a shoot around in one practice. So when he goes in the game right now, we kind of limit the package that we run, just so one, he knows where he's supposed to be, and then it helps the other guys on the floor know where their spots are when he's out there with them. So it's a transition, obviously, and it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get comfortable, for us to get to know him fully, and continue to build and find spots where he can be comfortable and successful.
So what's the way out of the run? You call it a run. What's the way out?
Do the right things over and over again. We all are all aware of our responsibilities, and the more I do my job, the better I am for my teammates. And it can't be the expectation that somebody else is going to do my job for me. As simple as it sounds is, how many times do you guard the pick and roll correctly? How many times are you responsible for your weak side defense? How many times do you box out? How many times do you screen? That's where the focus has to be. And when you're going, obviously, through this, you know, there's so many things that weigh in on people's minds that we get lost in that. But what we have to understand is, you know, what's happened in the past doesn't have to impact tomorrow. You know, and my job, no matter what, is to take care of whatever the responsibility on the court that it calls for at that moment. And if we do that enough, you know, it'll show in your play, and you'll play better, you'll play well, and we'll play to the level of our expectations.
How's your relationship with management these days? There was talk that the strain that the Parsons stuff might have put on it, or one way or another. Do you feel, obviously, last year you were totally on the same. Do you feel supported, and do you feel like you have a good relationship with management?
Yeah, I don't think there's any issues there. You know, the healthy part of any relationship is the ability to disagree and move forward. And we're not always going to agree, and I got no issues with that, and they have no problems with that. You know, we've got to put a plan in place, and once we leave the room, we got to go out and try to execute the plan to the best of our ability. And that's where we are. But I've got no issues, no animosity, and feel like they've got my back completely.
Everybody good? Coach, you just faced San Antonio Saturday night. What do you have to change the outcome of that?
I mean, if you look at most of that game, with the exception of the second quarter, I thought we did a lot of good things. You know, their ability to shoot the ball and the speed at which they play at makes them extremely difficult to guard. So you're welcome. So we can't afford to be, you know, chasing and be late in our responsibilities. You know, you have to do a great job of anticipating their next move.